Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy artist. We are going live today with our beautiful Patriotic mason jar. So let me show you the model to start with. This is our beautiful inspiration. So we've done this a lot in our live parties here in studio and house. All right, so that's our inspiration. Now let me show you what comes with the beautiful kit that you get in the mail. So you get a canvas, and then you get all of these awesome templates here for all the shapes. All right, and then you get your little brush sets, and then you get your paints, okay? So, and then I've got my trace already done here. So I've got the mason jar traced out, ready to go, and the two flowers, and then also the little flag, all ready to go. So we're all set. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start with the first step. I always like to start with what I call color blocking. And so I've got my biggest brush that I'll start to use here, and I'm going to go ahead and work in the mason jar. So that first color that I'm going to do will be kind of a seafoam color. So I will have a mix of the blue and, let me get that in frame here, blue, white, and green. Blue, white, and green. Howdy, I see a lovely little thumbs up going up. That's awesome. All right, so I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm going to pick up some white, and then a little bit of this green here. Start by mixing all of that together. Initially, this will give me a base of some turquoise, and then I will add a lot more white to this to push this to more of that, like a seafoam color. All right, so there we go with a lot more white. Here we go. All right, beautiful seafoam color. All right, that's getting closer to what I want. Hello! Yay, people from all over the world. UK. Greetings, greetings. And hello to you from Guthrie, Oklahoma. All right, so here we go. They have this beautiful seafoam color, and I will go ahead and just start to paint this into the shape. Now, when I go around the line edge, I'll go ahead and hold that brush just a little bit more like I would hold a pencil with that line edge facing the canvas, and then that will help me make that line edge that goes all the way around that shape. And I'll just curve right into that. And then when I start to fill in and I want better coverage over the surface, I can turn my handle more over to the side, and this will give me better coverage through the center here. The other thing I can do as I'm working through this is I can pick up just a little bit of pure white too, and just drag this through the paint. So I'll get nice little white highlights happening, which is a really nice way to get that look, like the glass look that's happening. So you get that little bit of reflective light peeking through there, which is a nice effect. So as I go ahead and push that seafoam color in, I'll also just push into a little bit of that pure white too, and that'll be a really nice touch as I go ahead and push that through that shape there. And again, this is my mason jar that I'm working on right now. And I've got this beautiful seafoam color, and it is a mix of the blue and the green and the white. All right, so we're almost done filling this in. This moves pretty quickly because it's just a big, nice, wide open area. So it's makes it a lot easier to control the brush in these smaller areas here. All right, and if you want, you can add just a few more touches of the white as well, and just kind of lightly drag that through the paint. It's a nice look. Maybe put a few more of those like in the corners there, light touches of that. All right, so that is our wonderful base. And have I started doing shows again? Yes, we are gradually doing them in different places. So some venues we have to wait on because they haven't received approval yet. But last night we went to a winery and did a show, and it was awesome. And they have a big wide open space. It was beautiful. It was really nice. We had about 20 people there, and it's such a giant venue that there's just so much room. Everybody could be like really spread out. So yes, it was awesome. A lot of fun. We had a lot of fun last night. That was Indian Creek Village Winery, and we are for sure going back there next month too, I believe July 10th. So if you need to get out, that's a good central location. And then of course we are also having shows every weekend. We will go ahead and do shows here in Guthrie at our home studio. And we're also very centrally located in all of Oklahoma. We're kind of far from the UK, but but you know, yeah, come see us. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. We have our beautiful, and hello everybody. Howdy, howdy. We have lots of people on now. Welcome. All right, so we've got our color blocking done for our beautiful mason jar. Now I will go ahead and start to work in the beautiful red of the flower. And so I want this red to be very vibrant. And if you want, I've got a little bit of orange. This is kind of a little surprise. I opened this up. I wasn't sure what I was going to find, but I have a little bit of orange nearby. So I might even just add a little bit of a touch to that, and so it will warm it up a little bit, and that'll make a really pretty poppy color. But I definitely want it to be a very strong red color, because again, this is our Patriotic mason jar, so we definitely want it to read as red, but this adds a nice little bit of warmth to it. Just warms up that red a little bit. And I've got my mama brush here, and hello everybody. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work this in. Now as I work around the edges, I will have to go ahead and hold my brush just more like this, like a pencil. I get that little line edge happening. And then one of the things that you will notice right away is that when you do have to hold your brush more like a pencil like this, especially with the red, you are going to see some transparency that will happen. A lot of brush strokes that'll happen. So you will have to come in with a second coat and just lay it on flat over the side. So we'll do that here in just a moment. But for right now, I want to go ahead and get this first layer down. So I'll just be sweeping this paint on into those little sections. And again, this shape is really easy because we do have a beautiful template. So I'm going to show you that again too, just so, see, that makes it really fun. Can you just can't see? Can you see now? Was I in the way? Maybe somebody give you some feedback. I see a heart. Maybe I was in front of it. That's what I do sometimes. I don't know why I do that. Like I need to get out of the way. All right. All right, so here we go. Yeah, I may have to, I was trying to get closer to the paintings to teach, and I just may not be able to do that on Facebook because of their narrow filming. So I may have to just, I don't know that I probably can't back the camera up right now, but next time I film tomorrow, for today I'll just try to keep my head out of the way. But tomorrow I'll just probably back the camera up. That way I won't get in the way so much. All right, here we go. We're just going to keep working this all the way around. And this is, again, is just mostly red. I did add just a tiny little touch of the orange, just to kind of warm it up just a little bit. But again, I want the read of the color to be red. Okay, good, awesome. Like my mom always used to say, you make a better door than a window. I think that's what was happening there. All right, so now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to hold it over to the side and go ahead and fill this in. Because I have a lot of brush strokes showing and a lot of transparency happening on this red, and that just came from holding the brush like this towards the canvas, because that, what it does is it digs into the paint. All right, so now I'm kind of putting on a really light second coat, and the trick here is to try to hold that brush more flat towards the canvas, again more like parallel to the canvas, and it'll feel really kind of strange and awkward in your hand when you do this. But part of that awkwardness is actually just what's what allows you to have more of that gentle hand over the surface. And then we'll just keep pushing this in. So I'll just keep pushing this into every little petal. All right, so we're getting a really nice vibrant look now, so that's good. And by the way, since this is going to have a black background, if you go out of lines a little bit and get a little bit sloppy, that's okay, because you can tighten back up later with that black background, so that's okay. So I was pretty neat and tidy, but you know, sometimes you can afford to be, especially if you do Sharpie outlines in the beginning, then it'll bleed through and you'll still be able to see your line. And then, thank you so much. Thank you. And then you can just kind of be sloppy a little bit and then tighten up with the black later. Can't always do that, but on this one you certainly can. All right, next up we have our lovely little white flower happening. So I'll go ahead and fill that in. So I need to get a different brush here, and I need to get a smaller brush. So I definitely need a little bit brush here, and I'm going to take mostly white, and then just a teeny tiny amount of black. So I just barely touch into the black. See how tiny that is? Super small. Because I just want a teeny tiny amount of light gray happening there. And then I'll still work in back and forth between just pure white and that little bit of light heather gray. All right, so a super light mix of light gray and then my white. Then I will go ahead and take my little bit brush, and I just go ahead and work into all these little petal shapes. And I'm not too concerned about that little circle in the middle, because I'll just go back over that here in a second. But I want to go ahead and work into these little petals now. This gives me some light, nice texture happening. Howdy! Love all those purple hearts. Those are awesome. Hold on. Let's see, let me turn my fan on and hopefully it won't get too loud. I'm back in my sunroom today, and now that the temperatures are 100 degrees, I don't know, you might start to see me sweat. We've got a little bit of AC back here, but there's not a big, I don't get it way back here in this corner, so sometimes I get a little warm by this window. Let's see. I'm going to try to adjust that to where you don't hear it so much. Uh-oh. All right. I probably should have turned that on in the beginning so I could hear it, but... All right, so we have our beautiful white flower happening there. Okay, so beautiful white flowers still have the gold happening in the center that we need to go ahead and place in. And you can let it set up and dry, or you can do it early on if you want. And let me show you a little trick too if you want to try this. If you're a little bit intimidated by the circle, you can also cheat with the trick where we use the handle of the brush. So I go ahead and just push that into the gold, just like that, and then you can just press straight forward. And then that gives you a beautiful little circle center right there in the middle. And then I can do the same thing here on the red. You can do any color you want. So there's handle of the brush, I dipped into some gold, and then I'll just push that straight forward there. So that makes a really beautiful little precise circle happening. All right, let's see here. Now we have some beautiful green that we need to place in here, and I'm going to do a spring green. All right, so I've got my little bit brush and then some white mixed in with the green. All right, so a little bit of white mixed in with the green, and that'll just brighten it up quite a bit and give me a really pretty light spring green. So that's my mix. Now my brush just got really filled with paint, so I need to go ahead and twist it out a little bit. So I'll lightly twist into the paint, and that will give me a nice fine point. All right, and so this is what I will use to go ahead and work into my little leaves here. And again, this is my little bit brush. This is the smallest brush that we have. So I'll go ahead and work into this little shape here. And ideally, if you're working at home and you've got more time, I would encourage you to go ahead and let your red completely set up and dry, or you could hit it with a hair dryer, and that way you won't risk having any kind of a run-in with that red, because the mix of the red and the green is not really pretty. So I'm just going to try to be very careful as I get close to it, because my red is still very wet, and again it'll just go to a really dark mix and you'll lose your vibrant, beautiful green. It'll even really kind of darken up your red. As a matter of fact, it'll take it to almost what looks black. So again, you just want to avoid that. Keep those colors really bright and vibrant. And again, this is just a really pretty spring green we've got mixed up, and this is just green and white. So just green and white. Keep those mixed up together, and then we'll just go ahead and keep applying these into those little shapes here. More little leaves. And normally I do a lot of turquoise leaves too, and you're welcome to do that. For today's painting, I'm going to be a little bit more traditional, and plus I have so much turquoise with the mason jar, I'm going to go ahead and I like the contrast of this, since the leaves come so close to that mason jar. I love that bright contrast of a really bright, pretty spring green. So I don't want the leaves to get lost since they're so close. All right, so now again, still color blocking, just getting all that basic color into all those shapes there. Next we have to work on the flag. And let's see here, I need to go ahead and do my stripes. I did forget to do my stripes. I'm like, oh, I did everything. No, I didn't. Oops. All right, so this is when it's nice to have a little ruler handy. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my pencil today, just in case here. So I need to kind of work out a little bit of a square around that heart. So I'm going to take my ruler and just go ahead and make one little line there, and then one little line here. Okay, awesome. And then, now my type A people, you're going to be kind of uptight about this, because you probably think I need to measure everything, and I probably should, but I'm not going to. So I will start with one line here, because it becomes a little bit awkward when that line doesn't line up exactly right there. It just looks really weird. And then I'm going to go ahead and just start to make little lines. So I just kind of rough it in. Sometimes I even freehand these. But today, this is why it was, probably should have done this earlier, but all right, so here we go. So we have our little stripes all worked in now, and I've got that little square happening around that cute little heart there. And then let's go ahead and start to work in some of our little stripes. So I will go ahead and do my red to begin with. And let's see, I'm trying to think. Let's do Mama Brush, because she's going to fit really nicely into that shape. So again, this is Mama Brush, little flat brush, and then I'll do some just basic red here. Push into that. And then it's really important to go ahead and lay that brush over on the side, just like this. So I'll go ahead and work into this little shape here. All right, and then if you want to be a little bit more precise with the line, then you can hold it like this and then let that line edge work for you. So at first you can do like right up next to that edge, or again, you can just kind of turn it like this. And if you find that you have more control turning your canvas just a little bit like this to reach it better. See, can y'all still see it? Okay, good. All right, so sometimes you can actually reach it better if you just take the canvas in different angles. So feel free to go ahead and turn it as needed so that you have more control to get into those little shapes there. And again, I'm using my Mama Brush and just bright red paint here. And then I'm going to come back into this shape. And I may have to turn it back the other way. You can just kind of play with it and see. Or you may even have to just kind of turn it like this. I'm finding, and I always stabilize it on something. Keeps it steady. All right, hopefully y'all can still see. Okay, good. Should have probably looked at that sooner, but okay. Wait, and then let's come back. All right, ta-da. Okay, all right, so awesome. We've got a little bit of a breakup happening here of white, red, white, red. Good job, yay. All right, and then let's go ahead and work in some of this beautiful cobalt blue next. Now this is a really tiny area in here, so both brushes that would work pretty well are going to be Little Buddy or Little Bit here. I will start with my Little Buddy brush, and I will add a little bit of this white to my blue. Here's why. It doesn't change it that much. It does lighten it a little bit, but for the most part, it still stays pretty vibrant. But the main thing it does is it helps it cover better on the canvas to have just a little bit of blue, I'm sorry, a little bit of white actually mixed in with the blue. All right, so I'm gonna start with Little Buddy because I can do the line edges. I do have some precise line work that I have to work in here. So I'll start with, make sure y'all can see, I'll start with the line work here that comes around. Make sure that's nice and straight all the way around that shape. And then I can lay this brush over to the side to go ahead and fill in. And then I may have to switch. It looks like it's getting to be really tiny and curvy. And curvy is always a sign. Small and curvy means we need to switch over to our Little Bit brush because Little Bit's the only one that can get around tiny little small curves. So I've got Little Bit here. I'm gonna do a little twist into the paint. I'll show you that real quick. So again, this is just some blue and some white. And then I'll go ahead and kind of curve this around because you can easily do those little curves with your Little Bit brush. And then I'll just lightly hold the brush over to the side and then just kind of lightly feather that out to blend that back into that little space there. And again, I'll just kind of crisscross the brush a little bit, lay it over on the side, and this will softly blend that paint back into that background. All right, so we've got our cute little flag done now. Our stripes, that's all in place. And then I still need to do my little, I've got that little wooden flag holder that's happening there. So for that, I will go ahead and use some gold. And if you want to darken it up a little bit, you certainly can. You can even just add a tiny little touch of black to the gold. All right, I've got my Little Bit brush here. And then I will just go ahead and paint into this. This is like that little wooden stick that holds the flag. So that's what that is. Yay! Okay, progress. All right, so now what we've got is we need to go ahead and start to work in a few of the details inside of the flower. Because right now, these are looking very raw. We've done a lot of our color blocking, but now we need to go ahead and work in some fine lines. So that'll help make all those little petals really pop forward. So I need to come in with my Little Bit brush now. Make sure that it is clean and dry and no excess water in the brush, because I will be coming back in with some black, and I want to make sure that that black doesn't have any water runs, because that will end up looking like a mascara run on your canvas. So I go ahead and take my brush and I just do a, that gives me a nice fine point. And then basically wherever I see that my little template kind of goes in, I just connect to that point with a line. So I will take the brush and I'll hold it like a pencil, and then from that center line, see, I can just take it to this line here, just like that. And I want to make sure I am not in the way. Okay, and then I will take this brush and place it there. And I'll just kind of take this all the way around. And you know, your Little Buddy brush might also be a good choice for this too. But I'm going to start with my little bit here because it's definitely small enough to handle it. And then, again, just try to reach out for those little lines. And if you do happen to go out of bounds a little bit, definitely just relax with the process and be a little bit sloppy because we're going to be doing all that black work around the outside. Howdy! It's my sister from another mister. That's what they say. Hello, Mariah. All right, so I'm going to take this black line all the way out because remember, we're going to have black paint in the background. Also, as you are working from home, since you are working from home, let that red set up and dry, and then your black lines will be very clean and much more thick and defining over the top. I do still have a lot of wet red paint, and so you're definitely seeing some of that digging into the paint. I'm losing some of my coverage as I do this. So that's because the paint's still wet. But if your paint's dry, then it won't do that. So. And so I'll have to probably do, in my case, because I'm kind of digging into that red, and it's becoming a little bit transparent, then I'll have to do like a second coat. Now I'm about to run into some green, so I can't be sloppy here at all. I need to tighten up and be careful about where I end my line, so I will cut it short and not go beyond that boundary. And then I can help stabilize my hand by pressing on my pinky, just holding the pinky on the canvas. And then just be sure you don't put it in wet paint, but that helps a lot too. All right, let's see here. My light is very reflective, and sometimes I have a hard time seeing. So I have to go down and take a look. All right, I think I've got just about every single area here. There's one more there. All right, okay, awesome. Okay, so we've got all those little lines done there. And then also when we do the black around the edge, that will really help also define it because it is still looking a little bit raw all the way around. And then I want to firm up this little circle shape here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little circle all the way around that. And then I'll probably just redot in the center. It's just easier to do that. So I'm going to redefine that. And then right here over the top, take my little, actually my biggest brush, but the handle side, dip into the gold, and then I will go ahead and push straight forward, and then there's that beautiful dot all over again. All right. So again, great little trick there. Okay, so now what we need to do is a little bit of defining around the little white flower. And we definitely want to make sure that we have a nice fine point on this. So we've got a little bit brush again. Mine got really full with paint, so I could tell that as I was working it, it was becoming so full with paint that the bristles were spreading and it was making the lines too thick, so I had to go and clean it off and dry it off really well. And then I'm going to twist back into that paint, get a nice little fine point happening, really delicate line here. So see, it's really tiny again, so that's important. And then I can go ahead and I can make a little circle here, all the way around this little shape here in the center. That'll be my starting point. That way I have a place to go when I work into that. And then I'll just connect again, tiny little lines that connect all the way out to the outside. So every single time that you see the petal sort of jut in, then you just basically go from the inside and then just reach all the way out to that little place where you see the line come back in. And then that tells you that's where that petal will hit. So you can just take this all the way around and make sure you keep kind of twisting, because it'll, every time you load up, your bristles will sometimes get too filled with paint. So it does help to kind of twist that back out again, get it thinned out again. We'll take this all the way around. We've got one more. You know, and if you want to play with the inside of that flower too and do a different color, you certainly can. But that gives us a great foundation now for our cute little daisy. All right, so we've got our line work done, and let's see, this is getting nice and set up, so I can go ahead and do some fun little dots in there. I'm gonna let the white of my canvas be my white for the heart, and then I want some fun dots, so I'm gonna take my little bit brush. Actually, let me wash this off so it doesn't dry on there. I'll get a different one. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. We've got little bit, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and press into the white paint. See how that makes a little dot on the end? And then I'll go ahead and do one on top. Got like a weird little hair on there. That is not good. All right, so here we go. I had a little fuzzy on there. That was not good. Okay, so here I go again with my white. Now I'll do one here on the bottom, just like that. All right, and then let's go again here on the sides. This just helps give you symmetry. So whatever I do on one side, I do on the other. So to help keep it in line, I'll do one on top, then bottom, then side to side. And then from there, then I just fill in as a diagonal in between. That way your spacing will be nice and even all the way around. And then again, just fill in one more time here. Yay! See how awesome that is? Okay. Now we need to go ahead and work into the actual mason jar now. So we can do a little bit of some shadow work that gives a little bit more definition. And let's see. I'm going to use my little buddy brush for this because I've got a lot of long lines that I'll do. So sometimes it's easier to use a flat brush because it does have that line edge on the end. And I'm going to mix up a little bit of some charcoal. So I don't want it to be too harsh. So again, a little bit of white here, a little bit of black. Mix those two together. And this will give me a dark charcoal color. And I would encourage you to take your pencil. This kind of helps. Mine's pretty dry. You can take a little pencil and kind of make some line, like a little sketch of some lines. That way, if you don't quite get it right, then, you know, you can change it if you're not quite happy with it, but kind of make those little lines that go across here. But that's, or if you feel confident, you can just paint it right on the top too. All right, so, but if you let it completely set up and dry, pencil, then if it doesn't quite work out, then you can erase it, and then that gives you a lot of confidence and to know you're following that line, so that'll help a lot too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do just a little tiny sketch of a line here. Little sketch of a line here, and see that little buddy brush is really nice for making just a nice subtle line that goes all the way across. I'll maybe do one more right in through here. And then just a quick little like parentheses, little sketch there. And then I'm going to take long lines all the way down here on the sides. And this is just a light sketch of a line, so it doesn't have to be continuous. You can break it up a little bit if you want. For example, like kind of take it down, drag it, and lift off pressure. So drag down a little bit, lift off pressure, then push down again. All right. So just some really fun abstract ways to bring some depth to it. All right, then next I will do some fun little shapes here. I do want to make sure and do a little bit of sketch work here with my pencil to make sure. Now again, if you're working at home, just make sure that this is all dry. That's what gives you forgiveness. So if it's completely dry, then you can sketch onto it and you have the ability to erase if it doesn't quite work out. Mine's still wet, so it kind of doesn't matter. So, because I can work it on with a pencil and it'll be light, but it'll obviously dig into the wet paint, and I would still have to rework it a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and just, for the sake of principle and showing you what you should do, you should dry and then use your pencil, and then we can go ahead and work in a little arrow here. And you're welcome to use a ruler, especially if you're kind of type A. I'm just going to kind of freehand one on here. I've got a little straight line I'll work on there like that. And then I've got my little arrowhead here, which is just a little triangle. All right. I think I did this way back in the day when everybody was all, follow your arrow. So, you know, arrows are optional now. I mean, you still follow your arrow, but I don't know if they're quite as trendy as they used to be. All right, so now we're going to do a little diagonal line on the end here, a few of those, just kind of a nice little detail. All right, and then you can do whatever letter you want to do. So I will go ahead and just do, I have S on the model, so I'll just keep doing S. Howdy! More people. All right, so here's my cute little S here. Take a little curve, and then a long curve down, and then another curve, and come up for a little curve there. So there's my fun little S. And then if you want to do some of that fun little ornate leafy effect there, it's like making a parentheses on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and make a parentheses here. But I do kind of come down all the way down, and another little parentheses shape, and then just go ahead and take it there. But yeah, just a little bit of a rounded look happening. My head's not in the way again, is it? Okay, good. And we'll do a little bit of a crisscross here at the bottom. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just paint on the leaves, because that would take forever just to go ahead and draw those on. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and start to paint. I've got my little arrow here, my letter, my little parentheses happening. All right, so now I will take my little buddy brush again. Here's little buddy. And I'm going to go ahead and push into that really pretty, you can do black if you want to. I'm going to stick with the charcoal. It's a little bit more subtle. So I've got my black, a little bit of white. Again, I'm going to keep it a dark charcoal color. And I'll push back and forth here into the paint. First thing I'll do is go ahead and reinforce this arrow design. So I'll just take that all the way across. And then I've got my little diagonals here that I'll work in. And then my little arrowhead. And you have to keep applying a lot of pressure too on the brush, and I keep taking that to a nice thin line edge. Otherwise, you lose that precision with it. So as you continue to push paint into the brush, sometimes it will load up the bristles and they spread out. So you have to make sure and keep applying that firm pressure to keep it thin on the end. All right, so that's our fun little arrow, optional of course, but that's a fun little detail on there. And then I will go ahead and make this fun little leaf pattern out to the side. So again, this shape, again, it feels like a parentheses all the way across, or all the way down rather. And so I'll just follow that all the way down. Started to dry brush on me here towards the end, so I need to go ahead and reapply that. Definitely check my end there. I've got firm pressure as I load back into the paint. Nice thin line there. And then I'll go ahead and do this side. Getting more of that dry brush, so I have to kind of follow this again. So sometimes just a little bit of patience is needed because, again, small brush and it loses its paint. So we have to continually keep going back in, just be persistent, patient, kind of like life. All right, so we have our beautiful line work done here. And then we want to go ahead and do our lovely little S. Now this, I think, because it's so curvy, let's go ahead and shift gears to our little bit brush. And let's see, let's do this little bit here, and I want to go ahead and do a quick little twist into the paint. That'll give me a nice fine point on the end. And I'll go ahead and start here at the top. See, that curve becomes really challenging with a flat brush, so I have to definitely use a liner brush to do that little curve that goes all the way around. Keep twirling in here. And this is also a move if you find that you have to kind of adjust your canvas or turn it to one side, then you certainly can. Howdy everybody, new people. Let's see, we got Kim, Denise, Rolinda, Mariah. There's probably a lot more, but I can't see y'all anymore. Howdy everybody. All right, so we're gonna keep pushing into that shape. All right, now we need to do those cute little leaves. Okay, so the leaf shape looks like you make a little parentheses. Well, thank you so much. Little parentheses, they connect, and then that gives you a fun little leaf. All right, so here we go. We want one up at the top. So there's my fun little leaf there. And then here's my fun little leaf here. Whoops, I didn't connect all the way. Let's connect. Okay, now I want to do one off to each side. So again, small here, and then you just kind of push and push those little shapes, keeping it really tiny. And you definitely want to keep that diagonal going, so, and we'll do this all the way down. And this is totally optional, this part. Sometimes people get intimidated by this part of the process, and so you certainly don't have to do all of this. You can just be very minimal and just have more of a plain mason jar. I've put a lot of detail on this. It's a little bit of an overachiever. So here we go. That didn't take too long, that wasn't too bad. All right, so now over here to the other side, again, little parentheses, parentheses. And just keep this going all the way down. Really helps to have this little tiny brush here too. And to each side. Almost there. All right. Yippee! Okay, so let's see. Let's do a few more little details inside of the leaves. So my brush is too fat, filled with paint. So I gotta spin it out a little bit here, do that little twist, get it nice and thin again. I want a thin line. So I wanna come back in here and do just a tiny little line inside of my little leaves here. It's just a fun little accent. So I'm going to do the same thing here to kind of define this out. All right, and then the rest of it now will be coming in with black all the way around it because that still all has to be defined. All right, so now what I need to do is just work into details now. So I've got just black paint. And this is a lot of small area in here. So you definitely want your little bit. And you're going to be using this all around those tiny little details. Definitely helps. And kind of keep an eye on your brush, because again, if it gets too thick, then you have to keep spinning it out a little bit. Getting that paint out of there so you can get into really teeny tiny little areas. But especially as we work in and around this, you're going to really start to see some nice detail happen around the flowers especially. Just tidies them up a whole lot. Because this is, in effect, our background color, but also our line edge. I may even need a really smaller brush. This is a kind of a big little bit. My little bits are kind of all over the place with size. Some of them are really tiny. I may even do this little guy here. This is one of my little brush kits, but we'll see. Kind of not finding what I'm looking for. Really tiny little brush, and then this will help work into all that little teeny tiny area all the way around. I was gonna say, we've got Indian people. I was in Enid yesterday. So we were at the winery. We drank wine and a little bit. I can do a little bit of wine. I guess it's good I'm called Tipsy and not too far the other way. Yeah, so I can do just a teeny amount, and then I have to do a lot of fluids and Gatorade and all that good stuff. So yeah, we had wine, and then we go inside and we freeze, and then we come back out to the courtyard and burn up at 100 degrees, and then go back inside. I think it's supposed to be 100 degrees again today. I'm not sure, but all right, yay, it's getting there. All right, more details here, a little bit of black. I got a teeny tiny little spot right there. Boom. All right, that brush is bothering me. I'm gonna go this one. All right, so here we go, another little tiny little bit brush. Do my little spin here. And I want to go ahead and firm up this little line at the top. It's getting a little bit lost. So let's firm that up. And then also I need to firm up this little stem. I've got a stem coming through there, and it got lost, so I just refirmed that a little bit. And then same thing here. I don't want to lose this line. Kind of watch out for those little guys, because I need to, basically my outline comes out in front, so it separates out that leaf from the stem behind it. And then I'll just work back in around the outside. And then now we just are working in and around this little flag and around the flower. Gets really teeny in here, so I gotta be careful and make it really small. Again, this is still just black paint. A lot of tiny work. So I'm doing that trick a lot where I rest the weight of my hand on my pinky. Just word of caution, just kind of watch where you stick your finger. So sometimes I've been known to stick it in wet paint, and then I'll touch down somewhere else in the painting, and then I've got all these little peck marks of paint from my pinky landing in paint and pushing it everywhere else. So you do have to be a little bit careful, but I'm pretty safe. I was kind of in a danger zone here on the white stripe. See, that could have caused me problems, but anywhere around this, it's all going to be black, so I'm pretty safe there. All right, so now I've got to work this around these little circles. Can you all still see? I'm trying to get my, kind of have to stick my hand in the way, but and this work here, this definitely requires a little bit of patience. This is all that tiny work, but see, we're getting really close to being completely done with that. So then it gives you a lot more freedom to kind of relax and get back out into the wide open spaces. So it becomes more fun to paint at that point. All right, so I've got tiny work done. Oh wait, no, that's not quite. Let me kind of work in here. I've got little tiny curves here. So let's get that done too. So I'm gonna make sure I come around this little loop here and here. All right, so now I'm good. Okay, so, phew. All right, so tiny detail work done. Now let's shift gears to a line edge. David Smith, my Superman, he's on here. You want it? You can have it. I'm sure I have a Patriotic. Actually, you can have a big one. I'm sure I have an extra. I'm sure I have maybe 10 extras. All right, so here we go. Line work. So I've got Mama Brush again, and I want to make sure I've got my line edge here. Y'all need to come to Guthrie on the weekends. Okay, we're not having a show tonight, which is weird. But we are having a show next Saturday and pretty much every Saturday after that. But you get to see David if you come to a Guthrie show. Because he's been hanging out with me on Saturdays. And if you sit right next to him, he'll give you some pointers. All right, so now we need to do our line edge all the way around. So I just hold it like a pencil, make that little line edge happen. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here on top. Just kind of keep that steady. And then, oh, look what I did. I just went right in there. Okay, so here's what you do. I just had a little boo-boo, that's okay. Here's what we do. We just make another line right next to it. Gone. I cheated, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna be more careful. That was a little bit sloppy of me. And I'm gonna try not to do that again. All right, so I can be a little bit more, I got so excited about free wide open air that I just kind of, oops, wasn't thinking about it. Just, I needed to be a little bit more careful for a little bit longer before I kind of go nuts and get too fun and textural. All right, and speaking of that, I'm not quite home free just yet. I'm getting too excited too quick. I do need to finish out these line edges, so I need to take this line all the way down. All the way down. Oh yeah, you know what I just realized? You're like, is this for me because it says S for Smith? I just now realized that. Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little slow. Get it? S for slow. I'm the worst joke teller. David's like, I know. All right, so here we go. Line edges all the way down. Make sure I get right next to it. All right, and get this little curve here. Don't forget about that. All right. Now we can have a lot more freedom, but I do need to make sure and be careful when I pull right next to that line. Now I shift the brush more over to the side. So I get really close to it, and then I can start to pull out from that space. So this is kind of a tiny area there. I want to make sure I'm working here. I may switch over to my Big Daddy brush here in just a second. But I will continue to use my Mama as I can, just all around these little areas here. And here. You'll still see me? Okay, good. Or not me, but I want to make sure you see the painting. All right, so keep working this around. All right, and for the most part, black covers pretty well. But my suggestion to make sure you have really good coverage is to make sure and hold that brush more over to the side, parallel to the canvas, and just kind of crisscross it back and forth. And then I need to make sure, and I need more paint. Used all mine. Okay, so here we go. Just reload a little bit here. And see, I kind of feather it out back and forth. But do continue to be careful when you're right next to that edge. Kind of slow and just go just a little bit right over the top, and then just lightly kind of pull out to the side. So see how I'm placing the brush more on the side. I get as close as I can right next to that edge, just a slight overlap, and then just pull out into that background. And right now it's looking pretty choppy with lots of these strokes here. So when I get back out to the side, once I've got some safe distance from that shape, then I will go ahead and feather it out just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Light little choppy strokes. This is just making sure I've got that covered all around the edges. But I need to feather that out with texturally, so I go ahead, now that I'm out into a little bit more space here and have a little more freedom and range of motion, then I can go ahead and just kind of lightly switch back and forth, little diagonal crisscross strokes, just back and forth. And then same thing here. So this will give you some nice texture here, and again, just keep working it back and forth. By the way, I'm thinking of new ideas to paint, and I'm thinking about painting a panda. Does anybody have any thoughts on a panda? But I think they're super cute, and my daughter actually still sleeps with her panda stuffed animal. It's always been like her favorite stuffed animal ever. So I don't know if anybody else has a love for pandas. But I also think they're just really pretty. Like they have that really striking white and black contrast going. So it's kind of neutral too. So I'm wanting to make it a trend. Is what I want to do. We need a new animal trend. So well, I don't know that we've had owls and llamas. So we need to have a new animal come in, and I think it should be the panda. So I don't know. Hopefully. If it does happen, you can say, oh my gosh, Tipsy said she thought that was going to happen. I don't know, I just feel like it would be a great animal. All right, here we go. So we have got this all finished up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's nice. And then just kind of watch, maybe go at different angles, and then also as it dries, you'll notice sometimes you get peekaboo of white canvas peeking through on the black. And so the nice thing about the black is it'll always blend even later if you come back in and kind of touch up over the top. But again, just make sure you get a nice layer on one flat side of the brush and just kind of lightly hold that over to the side, and that will give you really good coverage over the surface there. All right, so we are almost done. I have a little bit of this definition. You can leave this just like this if you want. I am going to go ahead and define mine, so I want to make sure I have a really nice thin line edge. See how that's super thin now? So I want to make sure and get that thin because I've got really thin lines to do here. and here. So this is a nice little touch here too. And I'll have to, of course, I have to come back in and touch up a little bit because I'm making little lines into that background, which kind of bothers me, so I'll touch that back up too. So I'll make sure and do line there. Take that all the way across. And then I'm seeing those in the background that's bothering me, so I need to kind of feather that out again. Just kind of lightly blend that back into the background because it did a little bit of a dig into the paint. All right. So almost perfect. Now one other thing is on the teeny tiny little heart in the center, and now you can do this with, like mine's completely dry. So honestly, what I recommend here, for it's so tiny, I honestly recommend just doing a Sharpie on this. It's just so much easier. So it's such a tiny little area. So I would come back in with my little Sharpie here. Now you can freehand this with paint too if you want. But I think that is so tiny, again, so much easier to do it with a Sharpie if you've got one. And honestly, even a ballpoint pen, a black pen too. Hello, Sean. Greetings. All right, so now, man, I think we're like completely, oh no, we're not. We're not done. I thought we were. We have some white highlights we need to do. We're almost done. Okay, so I need to find a little, let's do Little Buddy on this. And then actually I'm seeing a need for my little circle trick again. All right, so I want smallest handle here a little bit. I'm gonna dip into the white paint. All right, I'm gonna push straight forward. I'm gonna give a little white dot, just kind of a fun little accent there. All right, and then I want a few little white accents happening on the mason jar and then around the shapes in here. So I want to make sure I have a nice thin line edge. I'm going to go ahead and push into the white. All right, so I've checked it and it is nice and thin. All right, so what I'm going to do now is a few little accents here in the mason jar all the way across. And there's no hard, fast rules on the wear on this. It's just kind of random. But I just do a few of these. Just kind of scatter them about. All right. All right, so I'm feeling good about that. And then I can make a few more of these little white lines. You can come around your little flower if you want. Just little tiny sketches of that, kind of adds a nice little highlight. It's obviously a little bit better if your paint's not so wet, because it'll be a little bit more contrasting. Right now it is giving me kind of a nice little subtle blend. It's kind of almost, as soon as it hits, it's going to like a light gray, which is actually kind of nice. So I'm just going to let that work for me in my favor. So tiny little accents are happening now. So I'm just like making little sketches of just teeny tiny little lines. Thank you so much. Yeah, they're very peaceful. All right, I'm squatting down because my reflective light is making it to where I can't really quite see, so I'm going to squat down to where I can see it. All right. Got to get that angle to where I can see it. Ta-da! Getting there. Actually, I'm going to switch gears to I want my little bit brush again. Where would my little bit be? Let's do this one right here. All right, little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a little twist into the white paint. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and take this around those petals. And that first stroke was almost just kind of removing a little bit of that black, so that gave me a path. If your paint is dry, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Mine's still a little bit wet, so I kind of made a little path, and now I'm coming back in with that white accent over the top. And just keep taking this. I'm going to make this nice little white sketch of an accent kind of all the way around here. Okay, we're almost getting done. A few more little white highlights around some of the other flower shapes here. So again, a little bit brush again, more white paint, kind of rotate into there, and then I'll do a quick little sketch, like a light sketch that just comes around here. I see a few more places. These are really tiny little delicate lines. And I'm doing that little trick again where I rest the weight of my hand on my pinky. And thank you so much. And then that helps stabilize my hand as I do that stroke in there. All right, and then I'm going to do a few more little accents. Kind of match what we've already done. And again, as you do, if you like the little pinky trick where it helps stabilize your hand, just kind of watch where you place it so you're not getting paint in the wrong places. Or, you know, putting, and I did a little bit of that. I don't know if you can see that. Let me show you what, it's kind of a little boo-boo, but I'll show you what happens. I can fix it though. But see how I put my finger in black and then I made a little peck mark right there in the paint with my little pinky trick. But I can come back in and fix that too, so. But just know that's what can happen. Make sure y'all can still see. Okay. So sometimes it's good for me to mess up in front of you so you can see the possibility of how to fix it. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do a little bit more red. And we just kind of barely touch over the top of that. Actually, I need a smaller brush. Let's do a smaller brush. That brush is going to run into that black. It's too big. So I can lightly touch it up here over the top. All right. We kind of needed another coat of red anyway, so that works. Alright, so flat side, there we go. Okay, so it is looking awesome. The only other thing I can think of, I don't know, I've got it now to where it completely pretty much matches what I've got over there in terms of detail, so I don't really have anything else. You do want to remember to sign your masterpiece. So we will be coming in with our little bit brush and some more white paint here. Do that little twist into the paint, get a nice fine point again, and then you can go ahead and just sign here in the bottom corner. Keep it kind of tiny. I'm gonna do Tipsy for right now. I'll do the rest later. All right. So there we go. There's our beautiful painting. It's awesome. And we will leave this up forever, so you can always come back and look at it at any time. That's what we do with all our videos, so you can always see it anytime you want and do it at home. And of course, we have the whole packet online, tipsyartist.com. with all of the templates. That makes it really fun and easy for tracing. Of course, it comes with, you can just, if you have all the supplies, you can just buy the template pack too. We sell those. Or if you don't have anything, we've got everything you need, you know, with the paint and the brushes and the canvas and all that good stuff. So yes, so come paint with us. It's gonna be exciting. And then I have a really full schedule of online painting coming up. So I'll be painting with y'all, I think almost every day for like the next 4 days for sure. I normally always do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but I just really loaded it up. Just got excited about it. So tomorrow I'll be back again. Today's Saturday. Tomorrow's Sunday. I'll be back again at 2, and I'm doing, I think, the pickup truck. It's like a Patriotic pickup truck with a little doggy. Hold on a second, I'll show you. I've got it right here. I think it's this one. So we're gonna learn how to do fireworks. So yes, and a little puppy dog and a flag, and it's gonna be fun. So for sure tomorrow we'll be doing that at 2 o'clock. And then I know I'm coming back Monday and Tuesday, so I can't remember what I'm doing, but lots of fun stuff. And then we go back to the noon time for the Monday and Tuesday time. So yeah, so very fun. So come join me again here on Facebook. We'll be painting like almost every day this week. It'll be awesome. All right, so y'all have a lovely, beautiful rest of the day. Keep cool, and we will see you again tomorrow. Mwah.